Maokai some practice.
Yep. That might be how they are perceiving it. See if Kongdoo Monsters brought anything back with them from Europe. Any peculiar picks. Jace being banned away to start things off. And remember, Afreeca, they suffered losses to the hands of Talon in the last series that they played in.
I love also how Varus has become like the first red side ban now. People just realized how strong that champion is, especially with the lethality changes. They're like, nope, that just cannot exist. It's stronger than Rengar. Just get it away from my game.
Log being banned away now, and Kongdoo Monsters handed the option to potentially ban away Camille or Rengar, but don't do either, and ban away Malzahar instead. Very interesting bans by Kongdoo. Tushin does like the Malzahar, but with the Rumble and Jace bans, it does signify that possibly Roach is going to want to go on a tank champion. And that is often what he does play. Camille now getting highlighted by Afreeca, so Rengar will be let through. Kongdoo Monsters probably should just pick up Graves here, as it shuts down the remaining options.
I mean, you were talking about this last series, how do you go with the Rengar really, or do you go with Graves, who seems to be the higher tier pick nowadays?
I'll have to see how Afreeca respond to the Graves picks here. Probably should just be AD carry jungler. Looks like Ashe is being highlighted, and that's a soft counter to the Jhin. Most likely gonna be Rengar. Yep, there he is.
Mowgli gets himself a strong champion to show some good games with.
Kongdoo Monsters now highlighting Jhin, and might give that over to Soul. It is his favorite champion in the AD carry role. Probably the one that he's best at, so even though Ashe is going to have the soft counter on him down in bottom lane, shouldn't mean the end of the world for Kongdoo. They could potentially just look to take away one of the support champions here. They don't need to give away too much before entering into the ban phase.
Interesting, Tom Kench gets picked out here. I mean, with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, it definitely helps with some survivability. We see it pretty often against that Ashe. But we will have the immediate response of the support pick here for Afreeca will be Zyra, and that will be locked in.
Now moving into the second ban phase, it's mostly going to be targeted at mid laners and top laners. So Ryze is still on the table, as is Syndra, Corki, Shen up in top lane. There's the Syndra hover by Afreeca.
Saw Ian have some fantastic games on that, or rather just one. Was pretty good though. Stole a Baron with it.
Now Kongdoo Monsters have to decide how they want to respond. Remember that Afreeca are the ones that get to pick either the Shen or the Maokai up if you don't ban either one of them. Looks like Kongdoo actually going to elect to ban away the Kennen, and so the Kennen and Rumble picks being targeted at Marin as his anti-tank champions is going to further enable Roach to go on one of those top tank champions like Maokai or Poppy. And if you know that that's a possibility, that's why Afreeca bans away the Shen, as they might want to just take the Maokai away from Kongdoo Monsters. And you can see even more emphasis up in the top lane, and it's such a hinder when your top laner can't play any of these champions or really go toe-to-toe with them. Roach can basically only play top tank champs. And now you're going to take away the Maokai. Probably means that Roach is going to reply with Nautilus or Poppy. One of those two champions, the most predictable thing in the world.
A lot of stuff in this draft that at least makes sense this time around. Nothing too crazy.
Kongdoo might lock in the Nautilus. Clock is ticking down. Doesn't seem like they know exactly what maybe they want to pick for the mid lane, because it's going to walk into a counter. They have to pick it blind here. See what edge ends up taking. And it's going to be a Rise hover. Rise is pretty interesting. So they have a lot of stuff inside of their kit. They do have the ability to go into a 1-3-1. And technically, you're never really going to be alone. Tahm Kench is always going to be with one of the split pushers via the Abyssal Voyage. And he has a really great way of shutting down Maokai Rengar shenanigans in the later stages of the game. Afreeca probably going to respond with Orianna here or Cassiopeia. There's the Cassiopeia. Either one would really fit here. It just depends on how they want to play it. It's definitely a lot more aggression coming out for Kuro. Not the type of playstyle I would expect them to pick into here. So just putting Kuro on the wave clear of the team supportive champion, like the Ori, but
yeah.
Nonetheless, both of these teams are looking for explosive mid games.
Yeah, very true. And taking a look at the camera shots, I just want to say this while we have them. The entire team of Kongdoo Monster looks kind of like scared. Everybody's like hunched over. They don't look confident at all. Whereas like Kuro and Marin specifically, they look like they just got the huge slam dunk in front of the crowd and they're just going to wreck them for the rest of the games. And I mean, that's really what we're expecting coming into this one. It's definitely a big hill to climb. Afreeca is definitely one of the better mid-tier teams right now in LCK, whereas Kongdoo has just been struggling. I think the stats we had before was 5-18 for LCK and IEM combined. That's pretty down there, LS.
Well, Kongdoo Monsters, you know, coming into spring, I thought that they potentially were going to be one of the upper tier middle of the pack teams, but they've left much to be desired so far. And so now on this draft that they've selected for themselves, the Nautilus, Graves, Rise, Jhin, and Tahm Kench, it's a team composition that requires you to really understand the strength of your macro and composition and ride it out. And something I'm very worried about for Kongdoo coming into this game, as they're going to be much out-experienced, so to say, against Afreeca here.
Well, they're going to be hoping that Mowgli doesn't do so good in one of his first games out here in a while in LCK. But let's see how it goes down in game number 1 of Kongdoo versus Afreeca.
That guy is always here. He's always here for Kongdoo.
That scared me. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Oh, hold that thought. Mowgli is going to get caught, but look at the rest of them. Road's getting very, very low. And Punch taking a ton of damage. Kuro forced to flash away.
Googer, flash something. All right, Googer. Those were 2 stacks on every champion. If you get a third one, it stuns. If you use your tongue lash, Googer. I don't know if you're aware of that, but just letting you know.
That was kind of interesting.
That was so bizarre. They were so far ahead in those trades. They still had the heal. They had the cleanse up on edge. Not quite sure what was going. You know what? They are jet lagged, Brendan. They are coming straight back from Europe. He forgot Tahm Kench stuns on the 3rd stack. Just hold everything right now. Hold on. Marin's going to come in here. He's going to thank Kongdoo for the donation of the control ward. Look, they're being generous. They brought back souvenirs.
This is kind of funny. Oh, man.
All right.
You gotta teach some of these players how to play that Tahm Kench.
Well,
and
Punch solos the Wraith Camp. Uses a lot of HP, but it's Graves, so it's going to be fine.
Both Graves and Elise have been doing this. We saw Elise do it in, I think, the 3rd game. And I think we finally got our game sound back. It's off in the distance somewhere. We'll have to rein it in eventually, guys. Sorry about that. But we're aware of the issue.
All right, and now a lot of the focus here is probably going to be in mid lane As top lane, you don't really have any way to make anything happen unless Marin is shoving Roach in which case anytime Punch does move on to the left-hand side of the jungle, he does have incentive to blasting plan his way up into top lane and coordinate a gank against Marin, since otherwise it would be very unlikely for Mowgli's Rengar to really have a reason to go up to top against that Nautilus. Really like the fact that they're taking away some of the options from Mowgli. Take away the blasting plant.
Yeah, they took away his blasting plant, and 2 wards spotted him. So at least to start off the game, Kongdoo has been very meticulous about getting that vision and making sure they know where the enemy jungle area is 100% of the time. No questions. Okay, there's that sound. Nice and clear.
A little bit of a dancing grenade. And right now, Edge not doing so bad in mid lane. Kuro actually considerably down in terms of the potions versus biscuits. Not a great spot to be in. He also has that cleanse. Mowgli can't really find anything to do, and this is what I mean. You come up to top lane, but it doesn't really matter as Marin's shoving in the lane. Gonna be impossible for Rengar to do anything. I really like the vision control and just overall map movement from Kongdoo early on to really constrict this Rengar.
Yeah, they got wards everywhere. They just know where he is 100% of the time.
They're paranoid, man. The boogeyman's under the bed. They get back from Europe. Everything is on their radar.
Scary to them.
Yep.
At this point. And, I mean, they see him once again. Fantastic timing on the ward.
Basically playing with map hacks.
What if we saw Kongdoo come into the second half of spring and just wreck everyone? Just like come in here and nobody knows what happens, but nobody knows how it happened. They go to Europe and come back, and somehow, some way, they're just fantastic. We'll have to wait and see. They have to win this first one first.
If they beat Afreeca here and Afreeca beat SK Telecom, okay, and Europe beat Kongdoo, you following me?
I guess Europe is the best then?
Yes.
Top region?
Yeah,
Europe greater
absolutely.
than KR,
well,
confirmed.
Flash Wolves, I guess.
Yeah.
They take the cake there. Can't forget about that. A little bit of trading happening now down in bottom lane. Bottom is probably just going to be extremely passive for the most part. Pretty big trade happening up in top lane. Both top laners pretty even in CS, but Roach gets a little bit of the better end of the recall. Opts into double Durons on Nautilus. Not something I was expecting to see at this point, especially with how the lane has been going.
You see that Maokai goes for the double Durons too. Null Magic Mantle. So you can see Soul's having a little bit of trouble in that bot lane. He's keeping up in CS though. So as long as he does go back eventually, he should be okay. You notice that he started the boots and biscuits start as well, something we've been seeing more often.
Punch now coming in, getting more wards, and this Rengar,
they know where he is.
Yeah, they always know where he is. Another ward as well. They know exactly where he can be right now.
And they're going to teleport on in, and Mowgli forced to run away. Bolas get onto Edge, and they're actually going to turn this around. He doesn't know that Punch is around. He has to be very careful. Forced to flash away. Preemptive flash. He's like, no, I'm not taking any more damage more than this. Sorry, guys.
Marin under actually quite a bit of pressure up here in top lane. If he gets all of that CS, he'll still be down a little bit. Kuro looking to make something happen, but the ward coverage right now is fantastic.
Nice bit of damage, actually devouring him after he takes the damage. And this is also, by the way, guys, we are on 7.3, as you can see down on the bottom left. Glad we get that down there for you guys just joining in. But Zyra did have some small changes too. The plants don't automatically attack the nearest champion. They just attack whatever is nearest to them. So a small nerf, but definitely can have some implications in some fights.
Edge going to be looking for a recall now. Oh, Marin getting chunked yet again. A little bit surprising, actually, how this lane has been going. A little bit unnecessary, actually, right there by Roach. Gave Marin a extra CS that he could have just waited a little bit.
Small parts of the lane.
Well, those are the things that matter at this level of play, and so it's a little bit bizarre that he didn't just let the minion die before continuing to push the wave into Marin. And now Punch and Mowgli both level 6. This is around the time where stuff can start to happen, with bottom lane being level 6 on both of the AD carries. Both bottom lanes have the option to really just provide their jungler with a lot of utility and give them a way in that they didn't have before.
Is he going to ward again? Looks like he doesn't. Well, he has a control ward. And here we go. They're going to actually start this red with Mowgli nearby, but he won't get to the red nearly early enough, and Punch will just steal it.
Mowgli's having the most unpleasant game. He's been spotted out endlessly. He just had his red buff stolen away. They're getting ready for a blue buff handoff. Gets spotted out yet again.
Seems like they actually may want to go on to Punch. You can see that top lane is a little bit pushed more towards Marin, so Roach would get there earlier rather than Marin, so maybe that's part of the reason why they back off. Kuro just returns to mid lane. He's actually having a pretty decent time so far against that Ryze, 94 to 76 CS. Ryze will lose some CS as well as he picks up that blue.
Kuro now actually running down, but the ward coverage for Kongdoo, they have every ward exactly where they need it to be. It's really nice to watch.
And I hope this isn't a case of, you know, they do one thing right and then everything else goes wrong. I mean, I suppose that's one way to start the Kongdoo train, you know, back to their former selves. It's like, okay, let's get our vision down, and then from there we'll focus on our macro or, you know, go into something else, our team fighting ability. But at least they've gotten this part down for this game. Been nice to see.
So far, well, actually, Afreeca looking to start up the Infernal Drake, and you can see that Roach is recalling right now. He will have his teleport available to him, but take a look at where Punch is and where Gujar is, and there's absolutely no way to contest this.
Great read by Afreeca. They knew that everybody was going back. And, oh, it looks like Gujar wants to get on in there, but does miss the timing. And Kramer will get away.
Jet lagged.
Yeah. Just a little bit slow today, you know?
It's a little bit behind right about now.
Gained a little bit of weight from going over there to Europe.
That's why he's using the chef Tom. Yeah, exactly. So probably just going to shove in this last wave. As Punch now coming over, going to steal away this Gromp, and they might look to make a dive onto bottom. That would be a little bit risky.
Hold the phone. Here comes Mowgli up to top. And I think Roach identifies that something's up here. Now he's spotted. And this might just be a solo kill, actually. The sapling is not going to hit him. And on the other side of the map, we're going to have a flash in from Kuro. Punch getting caught up by the arrow and first blood. And there we go. Mowgli actually going to pick up the second kill as well onto a retreating Roach. So
and
all of a sudden.
Yeah, huge turn of events actually for Afreeca. A ton of pressure relief up in top lane. Roach is going to miss that entire wave. And with the kill onto Punch as well, Mowgli has his way on the left-hand side of the map. He knows exactly where Punch is going to be able to go now because he just came from the left-hand side. He knows, okay, there's no Gromp, there's no Wolves. You have no reason to go over to your blue side. You have no reason to go up to top lane now because your top laner is so far behind and compromised. So now we know exactly where you're going to be for the next 2-3 minutes.
That was a really nice arrow there from Kramer, too. Really just interesting angle, lands it perfectly onto Punch. They finally, right before he got caught out like that, I was going to say, well, the one other thing that Kongdoo Monster is doing well is that they're really abusing this kind of rookie jungler, right? They're making his life hard, but then it ends up paying off for Afreeca when they can turn that aggression against Punch. And speaking of aggression, here they come in again, trying to get onto that blue. And it looks like they might be able to. This might gonna go over to Punch, and he will take it away.
So Mowgli not having the best of times of securing his buffs, but it's not going to be the end of the world. I'm taking another quick look at this replay. So you see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow from Kramer catches Punch mid-dash. They lock him up completely. And then in the meanwhile, Mowgli hunt down Nautilus. Doesn't have to use his flash there, just on the hunt. Some nice pickups for Afreeca, and now Mowgli up in top lane, getting yet another ward.
That cat is not very stealthy this game, outside of that one kill that he was able to pick up. And so they ping him again as the ward in the Tribrush sees him going towards the golems. The Krugs there.
Edge now waiting to try to get his Rod of Ages.
The standoff.
Yeah. So he's waiting to get the Rod of Ages in mid. Meanwhile, top lane, nothing really too exciting happening up here.
And Marin was doing a decent job of zoning him from 1 to CS there, and it does add up. You can see that Marin is slightly ahead in that CS. So doing a good job there. Most of that CS was the wave that he missed earlier on.
And now Gugar and Punch looking to get some sort of vision control, but there's nothing really to gain by doing so right now. There's no real clear opening against Afreeca. They're extremely tight right now. Kramer was hugging his turret, and now they're moving out a little bit together to control the vision.
Team effort.
Yeah, team effort. Oh, Kramer might have to be careful here, but just to get back into his jungle. I guess there was actually really no threat there at that point. But Kongdoo is going to want something to happen. Although they have quite a bit of scaling on their team. So it's not like they're entirely hard-pressed to make something happen, but I feel like the longer that this game goes, the stronger that Afreeca will be. And that's primarily just because Afreeca have tended to be a lot better at the macro game, where that's where Kongdoo really seems to struggle. So even though their composition would flourish at that point, I feel like them as a team haven't really shown any reason to believe that they've changed somehow in the last 4 or 5 days.
Here comes Kuro, trying to poke on in. And it was a 3v3 at that point as Roach was rotating down 2, but they're just going to give that one over. They were thinking about perhaps going in, waiting in the brush, pretending like they weren't in the lane. They were spotted.
And more passive play coming out from both teams. And I don't think that the Dragon is really going to change too much, although it has spawned now. It would be pretty funny to actually see a team fight break out over this, given that it is just an Ocean Drake.
We saw like a ton of Afreeca pings go down onto that Ocean Drake, but they're not really contesting it just yet. Put down some wards, but they're going to be taken out right now by Kongdoo.
And it's a fight for vision, Brendan.
Yeah, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
And Mowgli is not going to stick around, but will use Thrill of the Hunt and the engage right there to get 3 of them right in a row. It's Gugar. Oh boy, everybody being taken out here. Just bad positioning and a fantastic engage from Afreeca. That's going to be an extra 2 kills on the board. And maybe an Ocean Drake if they want it.
Afreeca, yeah, they are turning their sights to the Ocean Drake. Mowgli's going to pick that up there, and I don't really know exactly what to say. I don't know why Kongdoo were in the position that they were in. They tried to Rise ultimate out, but it just didn't matter. They got sandwiched up against the wall right there. And now Afreeca almost at about a 4,000 gold lead here. 17 minutes, about to be 18. They're going to hand off the blue to Kuro. And now with Ed being down the flash, he's going to have to be really careful in that mid lane. And with Drake removed from the field and First Blood turret going down already, that means that the bottom lane from Afreeca is opened up, and they can start rotating to other lanes. So taking a quick look at this replay, you can see that they're fighting for vision that's not necessary because the Drake's not something worthwhile. And you can see that Kuro comes in here, and the stun and the slows, Marin flashes the wall, goes after Edge. No one could really get away.
Great miasma too to just make getting away even that much harder. Finally the flash out of Edge to just barely save his life, but his teammates weren't so lucky. Yeah, just being caught out in a rough spot. And the Ocean Drake does go over to Afreeca. It looks like the next one will be another Ocean Drake. So Afreeca could have gotten an even bigger lead. Say this was another Infernal Drake, a Mountain Drake. I don't think we've seen a single Mountain Drake all day.
Nope.
It's really weird. We've seen like 1, 2 Cloud Drakes, something like 8 Ocean Drakes, maybe like 2 or 3 Infernal. That RNG.
Oh, Cougar.
Well, looks like he will be knocked up into the arrow. Does get that great health, and the exhaust will save his life. They turn it around. Oh, huge damage. Tushin will go down as well. That's 2 kills given right back to Kongdoo as they blow everything onto a Tom Kemps that just did not go down and get caught out there.
A little bit of missed timing by Afreeca, and Kongdoo reward themselves with mid-tier 1 turret. Mowgli's here. I don't know what he's doing.
Well, he's just chilling for now. Gonna back off. He's not gonna jump in. And so they get a couple of kills and a turret, and they're not necessarily out of this one yet.
No, as we mentioned earlier, they, in theory, have better scaling. And taking a look at the replay, Tushin locks up Cougar and then Kramer with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but Cougar able to live with about 100 HP there. Kuro couldn't quite get the kill, and then the curtain call. Looks like Zyra just disappeared into the portal, never to be seen again.
Jin already doing a nice bit of damage there with that curtain call, not to mention the collateral damage out of Punch. Here we go, Abyssal Voyage, as they want more, gonna force a flash out of Kramer. And the trade everybody wants to see.
Yep.
Roach dredgelining to get away from the treant. The sapling, I guess.
He's calling over his cat friend.
Yeah.
To potentially look for a kill onto Roach, but now he knows that he was spotted on top of a control ward.
Friends of the jungle, unite. As Mowgli says no. Comes up towards mid. Actually, Jin is pretty far up in the lane. And he does have Thrill of the Hunt, but Soul will get back in time.
Not wanting to do anything. Both teams being extremely passive right here. Even if Mowgli, yeah, he gets that one, but small Raptors are actually a little bit more important. Looks like actually Punch as well going Edge of the Night for his first lethality item. On the Hunt gets used.
Yeah, and the teleport from behind from Marin. He should be able to get on to Punch here. Flash away, but he still gets him. Trying to dash away. He's very, very low. Tushin the only damage over there, so he will survive. Cougar, meanwhile, did take a bunch of damage. Somehow, Roach is in the back here and knocks up a bunch of members. Misses that dredge line. Meanwhile, the curtain call doing a bit of poke damage. But it doesn't look like Kongdoo Monster has enough follow-up to really go in after the Nautilus, so nobody dies.
Yeah, that was a very important fight for both parties, where Afreeca were really just looking for a pick or two because they can immediately have translated that into a Baron at that point in the game. And Kongdoo, you know, in the same sense, they needed to make sure that none of their members went down. simply just to prevent that from happening. So they almost got caught out yet again, but they managed to stabilize, and if they can keep doing this, it's going to eventually reach a point where Afreeca are going to be extremely reliant on having that flash up on Mowgli and Marin in order to get to the backline of Kongdoo.
See that Kuro is sitting pretty right now at 1-0 and 2. 2 major items completed so far. Also has that tier building up. So definitely will be a source of massive damage as we get later and later into this game. Everybody grouping up now for the Ocean Drake. It's about to spawn in 15 seconds.
Oh, Soul getting the red buff really quick. Googer recalling. Oh, okay, does not reset. Nice crit damage right there. Another Ocean Drake. Potentially about to be picked up by Afreeca. But when it gets to 2, that's when it's slightly noticeable in standoffs and stalemates, but still definitely not the best dragons that Afreeca could have hoped for.
I think the next one might also be an Ocean Drake.
Stop it.
It didn't change.
Not again.
The picture didn't change.
This is like Rebecca Black telling us she's coming out with another song.
Oh, man. Here we go. Yeah, it's got to be another Ocean Drake. It hasn't changed. And the writing on the wall as well, the symbol, didn't change. So a third Ocean Drake. Afreeca not too happy. If you get, you know, an Infernal Drake or a 2 or a Mountain Drake or 2 and you have a Cassiopeia on your team, if the enemy team gets out of position for 1 second, you can burn down the Baron in like 15 seconds. Maybe even less, so Kongdoo should be pretty happy that all they have to deal with is some Ocean Drake stuff, and that it's not something worse.
Well, they're securing vision control around the Baron. They were looking for a pick. They're not going to find one. Sometimes it's even difficult to do so against an Ashe because of that hawk shot. Marin, though, has to be really careful here.
He's going to be hooked on up, and you can see just how tanky he is. Punch desperately trying to do some damage, but he goes down below half, but he's not going to die. Kuro does get tagged by the curtain call. It's 2 shots. Will the 4th one land? It will, so now he's down to half health. Oh.
Even more of a chunk, and Mowgli has to be really... Oh, no.
Boy. Okay, he's forced to flash away, but Edge is on the way. Will be forced to throw of the hunt to survive. And so Kongdoo Monster, even though they're behind on gold, they're still trying to make something happen in terms of these picks.
Definitely a thin line was just walked for both teams right there. They couldn't quite bring down Marin, and then it almost looked like Edge was going to potentially get picked off in the river, but then the team fight got turned on its head once again. Kuro got completely gutted, and with that, Afreeca was forced to concede ground around their red side, and now the game goes back into a passive phase. Both top laners have teleport available to them. Remember, Mowgli should be able to be with Roach in theory, but the problem is that Googer can shut down any sort of 2v2-on-1 plays that Afreeca would try to make via the Abyssal Voyage. And we're also about to enter into the phase where Kongdoo Monsters can initiate a 1-3-1.
We're taking a look at this, and it's not the most exciting. One thing you do want to notice is that Marin is about 80 CS ahead over Roach, so I mean that is very significant at this point in the game.
Almost has a Flame Horizon going for him, and this is what we really came for. Right
I wonder
here.
what it's like when you're a professional top laner and this is all you do all the game.
Just let it unfold, friend.
Just let it happen.
Just let it
It's like a golf commentary, you know? It's like, oh, he's taking about 10% health.
All right.
All right, back to the action.
We can talk again.
Abyssal Voyage, it's okay. Kuro will get the big stun onto Googer. Exhaust comes out, and they're not going to turn it. And Kuro once more doing a bit of damage. Even Edge is going to run away. Nice response there from Kuro to not die to that pick.
And they didn't get a pick right there, and that means that nothing is probably going to happen yet again. And, you know, the real problem for Kramer is he can't make use of mid-map arrows or arrows from like 3,000, 4,000 range away because of the Tahm Kench. He'll just eat up whoever ends up getting hit by that arrow, and then it completely shuts down Afreeca's ability to make anything happen there. And so Kongdoo, I really like what they're doing. They're doing exactly what's necessary. They're keeping Edge up in top lane. They're denying Afreeca's ability to shove that in. Even if they concede mid-tier 1 turret here, it's not going to be the end of the world. And they can endlessly turtle their blue side jungle, much similarly to how a red side Varus can turtle his side of the jungle, except you can do it as blue side Jhin because of that curtain call. It's too difficult for Afreeca to funnel into Kongdoo's blue side jungle against that and somehow make something happen, and so you have this never-ending cycle. The problem is, though, is that they're a little bit reliant on dragon spawns going in their favor, and thus far it really has.
So, nice big crit there onto Red will secure it for Soul. Marin, if he had gotten there maybe 10 seconds earlier, he could have stolen that away. But Jhin will secure it. It looks like Marin will go back to fighting against his ally that also doesn't die. Okay, Abyss of Void's coming on in. The curtain call does slow down both Mowgli and Tushin. Nice big shot there onto Tushin. Marin is just going to teleport on in. There's the arrow. It does go wide. Now they're focusing onto Roach. He's taking a bit of damage, forced to flash away. Now they don't have that frontline tank anymore, so they're all forced to back off, and no picks happen.
Well, Dragon is coming up. That's the big reward, Brendan.
Yeah, Afreeca, they win the fight, and they get a third Ocean Drake. It's very nice.
The one thing about this, though, is that does mean that they're going to have 4 dragons for Elder, and that's going to be something that's very difficult for Kongdoo Monsters to try to stop when it does spawn here.
Yeah,
Kongdoo instantly responding with a Baron attempt.
I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off. You can see they're not entirely committing to it as well.
Interestingly enough, these are actually the scenarios where that triple Ocean Drake, double Ocean Drake, is really going to play a big part. But hold on, Tushin decided he's not long for this world. Going to get mid-tier 1 turret off his death. I don't think that Kongdoo can take this much further, but if Roach lands a Dredge line, no, not today.
Nah, decided against it. He's like, nah, not feeling it. But they may turn back onto this Baron.
That triple Ocean's actually going to do a lot of work here. If the stalemate goes on way too long. Kongdoo can't... Oh, the Dredge line missed. That is so big.
That was so close, too. He, like, threaded the needle on that one. Very nice movement there from Afreeca to not get caught, and they stop the Baron play. So after all, this is very beneficial once again for Afreeca. They get the turret, they get the third Ocean Drake. And it will be Elder up next. So even if we do have this passivity up until Elder, I mean, Afreeca's going to be in a really nice spot if they can pick that up.
Hold on, we're about to let the magic happen.
Yeah.
This is where it all comes down. Yep. Bob Ross couldn't quite paint the picture this good. Hold on.
Oh. So close.
They don't understand what's important. Hopefully we get.
They almost got on the same screen there. Oh, they're fighting.
No,
they're fighting.
Wait a second. We're just waiting for the camera to shift to the real action.
You can see that they were fighting, and
they
then
were,
they're like,
yeah,
actually not.
They ruined. Oh.
Okay, I mean, they got Edge and Gugar in here, and he lands the slow. Marin forced to ult. He tries to flash the Deadly Crawler. It's just not enough. It's him against the world, and he wins. Walks away.
He just ran through the entire team of Kongdoo.
That's nice.
Half HP. Now that Ocean Drake doing work.
Look at how fast he gets up, and he's Maokai too. Okay, they're going to blow more stuff on him. Will he actually die? It looks like he might this time. Nope, not yet. Oh, he will. The crit.
Got him.
And that's pretty big. Marin's a huge front line for them right now, and if they don't have him, I mean, I would assume Mowgli's not that tanky, and Afreeca wouldn't want to fight a 4v5 right now. So they delay the game even further.
And I mean, honestly, the only way that I can describe Marin's movements there for the last 30 seconds would be nothing short of just tilt. It doesn't make any sense to randomly run through the red side jungle, you get caught by a Tahm Kench, you run through the team, and then you still posture around mid lane as if you have anything to gain. There's nothing to gain right now. You had nothing to gain by being where you were. You end up getting caught out, you go down, you're going to have teleport available to you. Your death doesn't really mean anything for the enemy team, but still, it may just be extremely frustrating that Afreeca, they clearly can't make anything happen. There's no synergy between Marin and Mowgli in bottom lane to do anything to Roach. And even if they could, the Abyssal Boys would shut it down instantly. And so they're really wishing probably right about now that those 3 Oceans were something like 2 Infernals or even 3 Mountain Drakes. That way Marin could just ignore Roach and keep auto-attacking the turret. Not able to be that fortunate. So Kongdoo Monsters, they're winning the lottery a lot this game.
They're hanging in there, that's for sure. And as you said, tilt, frustration, almost boredom. You know, he's like looking for something to happen, but nothing quite happens. Cougar voyages in alone, and will be forced to wait for that cooldown to come up once again. They were looking to potentially get on to Tushin or Kramer there up front, but no can do. Gonna set their sights on Baron now. They're gonna start it even. This is seen. And immediately they back off as Thrill of the Hunt is used. Just teasing Afreeca.
The never-ending story. Did you ever watch that movie as a kid?
I haven't, actually.
Oh, man. You're missing out. Oh, Cougar, though. It's actually a lot of damage. He does have that gray health, though. He's a big boy.
He's getting it back. He wishes he had 3 Oceans.
Kongdoo actually, yeah. They are, the jet lag. I keep forgetting about that. I keep forgetting about it. It's the jet lag. Keep forgetting.
Yeah, it's just like real lag in the game.
Yeah.
It just goes wide because, you know, brain's lagging.
That makes sense. Yeah. It all makes sense now.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. All right, we're going to clear out some more vision.
Oh.
And, but they're on a ward. They don't know it.
But a lot of members of Kongdoo did just go back. You can see Rise was heading there.
Rise was still heading towards his base.
He was walking back.
Jet lag.
Jet lag, okay. Well, here we go. We got the curtain call, and a lot of members on Afreeca now very low. And it looks like Roach is actually able to keep that Baron alive, but it looks like Afreeca wants to re-engage here. Cougar getting caught out. He will go down. Lots of damage, though, and a big knock him up.
Look at Marin.
Look at Marin. He's going so deep. This is the fight of the tanks against the rest of the other team. Marin does die. It locks up Tushin there, and Roach is still alive.
Just no one can actually get to each
Uses
other.
the blasting plants. He's going on in. That was a bit of a mistake. Probably figured the rest of his team would follow up. And will they be able to? The flash over the wall. The Kraken Kuro somehow survives. Oh, he's so low.
Oh, death fire.
Oh, he goes down. Just barely.
What amount of moxie coming out of Soul just now, flashing that. If Kuro or anyone had reacted to that just slightly sooner, Soul would have just gotten blown up, and that could have potentially been the Baron, but I really like that gutsy play going over the wall, and you could see that Afreeca wasn't even entertaining it as a possibility.
Soul was sick of us making fun of his team. He's like, I'm not jet-lagged, guys. I can do it. And here we go, Afreeca. They're moving towards Elder Drake, but the rest of Kongdoo is going to Baron. It looks like they may just give this one up and take Elder for it.
Kongdoo thinks that they've won, but little do they know they're about to fight a 4 Elemental Drake Elder Dragon. So that's a big Elder Drake. That is a gigantic Elder Dragon. Yeah, he's big, man. He's really big.
2.5 minutes of Elder Drake glory.
Baron will have a little bit of an edge on that in terms of duration, but definitely the punch that the Elder Dragon is going to give is significantly more valuable than the Baron buff right now. And when you look at the lanes, you can see that Kongdoo Monsters doesn't really have much to work with. They don't have a bottom lane that they can go to. Top lane, they have edge up there with that Baron buff, but they're going to be forced into a siege-like stance, and that's going to actually play into Afreeca's hands. Afreeca wants to definitely fight while they have this Elder Dragon available to them. They're not going to get another chance for the foreseeable future. So they need to make something happen.
Soul is really scary right now. He's on 4 major items. He's 3-0-3 with almost 400 CS. Ash essentially in the same boat, also with 4 major items and 400 CS. The crits coming out of Jhin, very, very scary. Whereas the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, always going to be less effective because of the Tahm Kench. He's looking for it though. We'll see what he can get started here. Hawk shot to start. And nope. They see it's a Roach, they're like, ah, well, we won't even bother. Edge able to take out the top turret. One person in the audience clapped for that one. I heard it.
And Kongdoo not really getting too much accomplished with their Baron, but they don't really need to as the Elder. That's basically the one opening that Afreeca had, and it's almost gone. Definitely not the best situation right now for them.
See a bunch of back pings on Tamarin, and is this just going to be a repeat? I mean, it's him against the world once again. He's forced to flash. But he gets caught in a not-so-great situation once again on the map, and will not have that flash for the next fight to engage.
And here comes Kongdoo up mid lane, and here's that timing on the Baron. It's still alive, but Afreeca not as fortunate. Don't have the Elder Dragon available to them. Marin has the flank.
Here it comes. Teleport on in. Thrill of the Hunt used as well. Who will be the target? He gets onto Edge, who immediately QSS out. And the big knock up onto Googer. They're going to try to turn this around. The curtain call just barely misses Tushin. Roach going to move on forward. They do knock up Marin here. He's getting extremely low. Not able to get that redemption, and down he goes. And all of a sudden, Kongdoo Monster, with that Baron buff, able to push in here just towards the end. Will they get this turret? Not 100% sure, it doesn't look like it.
Well, they are just waiting for one more minion wave. The problem is that it's so difficult for Kuro and Kramer to really get any sort of damage off. Googer is so obnoxious, able to eat up Roach whenever he really gets in danger, and then they can just juggle the Nautilus shield in between the Devourer cooldowns, and it provides this really never-ending tanky front line, and Afreeca don't really seem to have an answer to it, primarily because Mowgli is also going tank. Just look at, he doesn't even really deal that much damage to punch.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate, especially because the arrow missed too from way down range, but he's gonna come on in once again. Edge of Night is procced, and Punch turns it around. Mowgli forced to flash away, and he just gets eaten up by Googer right there to save him.
They do go flash for flash right there. But now this enters into the stage of the game where Kongdoo Monsters, they have the ability to go into 1-3-1. So taking a quick look at this replay, you can see that Marin, he gets into the backline, but you know, Maokai doesn't actually deal that much damage. And then once this engage happened, Googer ate up Roach. You can see that Roach is taking no damage. The reverse curtain call comes out to turn the fight. Marin gets locked up, and I mean, there's nothing that they can do. If those type of engagements keep happening, Afreeca is going to lose the game. They need Tushin to be in a better position, but then the problem is that Rengar's itemization doesn't enable him to threaten the backline.
That's very true. It's a pretty rough spot right now for Afreeca. They're desperately trying to get some kind of pick. What can they do? We got Baron coming up in a minute 40. So just vision clearing for now. Here's the arrow. Okay, goes wide. And look at that. I mean, Googer was right next to him. So even if that hits, you know, what does it really do? It takes Devour off cooldown. That's what it does. So Tahm Kench being a pretty nice pick for them so far in this game. well as that Graves. You can see just how much damage he was able to do in that fight. Oh, the tongue lash misses. The dredge line hits, but right underneath the turret. They're not going to overstep their boundaries here.
And you see what's very peculiar about all of this is you see Kongdoo almost in a bizarre turn of events. They're just constantly staying together as a team, despite the fact that they have Teleport Up, they have Rise, and they have Abyssal Voyage on Tahm Kench. Their macro right now is actually very lackluster, but the comp is doing the job for them.
Yeah, and they catch Marn again. You can see he takes about 5% of his health and damage, so that's a win for them. He's going to get that right up the next time he hits a minion. But, oh, and yeah, he's got the 3 Ocean Drakes too. But maybe they can engage here. Roach, he was looking for it. Nope, not going to go on in. Roach has his GA up, and now with Baron about to spawn, it's going to be a rough spot. There's no vision around the Baron. They're going to rely on Hawkshot. Here comes the Dredge Line trying to get on in. They knock up Kuro.
Now they juggle that with Cougar. That's what I was talking about. Enables Roach to be a never-ending front line. And neither team can really make anything happen. A very peculiar turn of events. Bottom lane now, the minions are getting sick of this. They're deciding that they're gonna end this.
Is there a ward around Dragon that Marn can TP to? I don't really see one.
Baron's going down right now. Mowgli not really in a
okay.
That Baron was left with quite a lot of HP. I don't know what Kongdoo's doing. Tushin can cast his ult.
Well, not going to happen.
What
and
is
it looks
going
like
on?
Mowgli is going to get it. Cougar going on in, and
what?
Everybody on Kongdoo way out of position now. Roach going to go down.
Well.
Very unfortunate series of events for Kongdoo.
Okay, and this Baron is actually going to persist through into Elder. Oh no, punch. They better hope that Edge doesn't get caught out. They don't sniff him out, so Edge at least will. Oh no!
Oh, they find him! Oh, they get Edge too! That is so unfortunate. Tushin flashing the wall even just to make sure that he doesn't die. And look at the death timers right now too. It looks like they want to get Soul. That's going to be Soul going down too. He's not going to come up for 60 seconds. Is there a chance they could actually end the game here? I mean, we got Cougar coming up in 10, but everybody else is about 40 seconds.
I think that they can end the game here. They have all 5 members here, except for, well, yeah. I think this is going to be it.
Oh, they use the arrow.
The arrow.
Goes wide.
Cougar, yep.
Really, what can Cougar do at this point? He's all alone just watching it happen. Gonna throw down Redemption, not gonna be enough. And that will be game number 1 finally, going over to Afreeca.
All right, and well, you can probably hear the cheers from the crowd for Afreeca. That was a game that looked literally completely lost for them. It looked completely hopeless. You could see that they didn't have a real response to deal with Kongdoo's front line and that juggle from the Tahm Kench and the Nautilus. And then Kongdoo Monsters, in a bizarre spin, just completely throw the game in a matter of 30 seconds. I have no words for what I just witnessed, right, leading up to that.
I mean, they were playing quite well up until that point. I mean, they were getting so much vision down. They were using their comp. I mean, you know, you were talking about the macro stuff that they weren't quite doing.
Well early on in the early phases with the vision controlling, basically playing with map hack, keeping all tabs on Mowgli. But the real problem is that they didn't have any macro. Let us be honest for a second here, that they had a Rise, a Tahm Kench, a Nautilus, teleport available. There was no usage of a 1-3-1. There was no split push mechanics being used or even touched upon. The composition was doing everything for them, and even that couldn't save them. And in this replay here, they leave the Baron with 5,000 HP. Then they take a Rise ultimate into the Baron pit and say, here, kill us here. We like it. We would rather die here. And I mean, Roach just gets left to die. Punch and Edge are trying to run through the red side of the jungle, but it just doesn't matter. They can turn the attention there. And I don't even know how to feel about this, Brendan. I'll be completely honest.
You seem to be at a loss of words, especially watching that replay again. I suppose just under the pressure they cracked. They brought it to very, very close, and they were actually ahead of Afreeca at that point. But either way, guys, we are going to go to a 2-minute break before we get into the analyst desk between games.